So your question is, we're live?
Right.
Okay. So a question was just asked if a person is allowed to answer Amen after he washes for bread before he says Amaytzi on his bread. And the answer, while it is absolutely forbidden to make an interval between a blessing and the action. So for example, if you say Amaytzi lechem min haaretz and before you pop it into your mouth, somebody said Hamaitzi also. Happens in Chabad where our custom is that everyone says it on their own. So you hear someone else say Yom because you didn't yet eat it. You can't make an answer. Furthermore, even if you already put it in your mouth, if you didn't yet swallow it, sometimes challahs can take like 3 minutes to chew until it begins to get swallowed down. So you're missing out like on everyone's amens. You can't say it's forbidden until you swallow. It's awesome. If you did, it's all shayla, maybe eating the whole soup and mouth out of it. So you have to swallow. However, that's only by birchas hanenin, by the bracha. That's only by regular brachas. By the bracha of al tilas yadayim, the bracha is on the action of washing. So in essence, you already did the action of the mitzvah. So what's the hefsek? The hefsek is only between the tilas yadayim and the eating, the hamaitzi. By that, it's not so severe. It's not the same level of severity. And not only you're allowed to answer amen, but you have to answer amen. It's a chiyuv to answer amen or someone else's bracha in between. You can't have a whole conversation with them, but you have to answer amen if you haven't said bracha.
If you would have said Hamosha, then you can't talk about Hamosha until you...
Exactly.
That's a different one.
Yes.
Okay, so
and I'll tell you where you're not allowed to talk, and a lot of people don't know. And the Alter Rebbe writes this in the Shulchan Aruch. A lot of people do this because of lack of knowledge. Is they don't after they wash, they're You know those guys, the guys. But while they're washing, they're talking to somebody. So while you're washing, you're making a hefsek between the natila and the bracha, which is possibly invalidating. But after the washing, some others hit out enough that it's a backwards chumrah. They're being machmer in the wrong stage. You have to be machmer in the stage when you're washing. Once you start washing, you can't say anything until you finish the bracha. And after you finish the bracha, it's already more than a minute. You still don't talk, but you can say amen and say.
Right, so okay. One more question about this kind of thing. I'm one of these guys that is slow in saying the Shema. So because I'm saying the Shema, they're always way ahead of me, so I can go to the Shema, but I'd be slurring my words, and it might validate the Shema.
But you say it at your pace.
So what I've done, and I don't know if this is right or not, but what I've done is I move up the pace for the pre-blessings. I say them very quickly, way before anybody else is doing, and I'm already starting with the Shema early. But then I can't say Shema. I can't say Amen to their brachos. Is that? It's
okay what you're doing, but the best thing would just to daven your own pace, and that's it. If they don't need you for part of 6 of Shemona Esrei, then don't worry about where they are. You daven at your pace. By Chassidim, we don't rush our davening to be with the minyan. The kavanah is more important than the mitzvah of minyan.
Unless
they need you for the 6.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
No,
you
it's
for the
very
6 and you say Kaddish, unless you're in these situations.
Because people, they only remember one part of what you said.
I know.
And when there is a need,
I agree with you 100%. That's why I specifically emphasize that if you're one of the 6, the whole idea of Chassidus teaches is Avos Yisrael. So you're davening ba'aveda to create Avos Yisrael and doing it against Avos Yisrael by making the whole minyan wait for you. So how does that make any sense? So if you're part of the 6, then of course you got to be with them. But if you're not part of the 6, then what's wrong? Daven ba'aveda.
Of course.
Okay. We were in the middle of, I believe this is what we were up to.
When you're coming out of the Shema, there's 10 guys in a minute, and you're waiting for that to focus out the Shas, and there's one guy who wants to daven arichus.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, anyone remember where we were up to?
It's good for saying Kaddish.
Last week, who was here last week? Who remembers? What were we up to? It's very ironic that nobody remembers because we were up to Zechreinu. Remember? The stanzas of Zechreinu, Michamaycha, Uksayv, the Sefer. Remember. Okay, so we went through last week Hamelech HaKadosh, Hamelech HaMishpat. We went through all those details. So we're up to, again, we're going through now the davening of Rosh Hashana. We have one more class after this next week, and that's the last one. Next week in Mitzvah, we'll do Erev Rosh Hashana laws. We'll do Slichas. Actually, we should really do a little bit of Slichas today. Slichas begins this month of Shabbos. This month of Shabbos.
Wow, it's long Slichas.
Yeah, so let's remind me, the 10 minutes left of class, remember, we'll review some Slichas halachos, okay?
Coming here.
Okay. So we explain the following, that HaMelech HaKadosh and HaMelech HaNishpat were instituted by Anshe Knesset HaGdayla. So it's major in the Shemoneh Esrei, and if you forget it, HaMelech HaKadosh, it's no good. You have to repeat Shemoneh Esrei, and if you forgot HaMelech HaNishpat, then we enter the whole machlokes we said last year, Sephardim versus Ashkenazim, the Sephardim and Sazav, whole machlokes. We went through all these details last week, but they're very serious to say it correctly. However, which are the 4 added stanzas said in the 2 first and 2 last blessings of Shemoneh Esrei, were instituted not by Anshe Knesset HaGdayla, but much later by the Go'ainim. So therefore, they don't carry the same weight, and that's why the halacha is that if you forgot to say them, nothing else. You don't continue Shemoneh, you don't go back, you don't repeat a bracha, you don't daven Shemoneh Esrei again, not even as an adult. Your Shemoneh Esrei is completely valid because it was not instituted by the people who wrote the Nusach of Shemoneh Esrei. So according to them, it's a valid. I'll give you even greater. Even they didn't say it. The Anshe Knesset themselves didn't say it. It was instituted 1,000 years later. So they didn't say Zachrein. If it was good enough for them, it's good enough for me, right? But the Chatchila, of course, we follow the Ga'anim. You have to try to remember. But if you forgot to recite it, it's not a problem. Furthermore, Alter says the following. If you remember if you pass the stanza and you remember to say it before saying Baruch Atah Hashem at the end of the blessing, let's say before you say Baruch Atah Hashem Magen Avraham, you remember to say Zechreinu, then say it where you remember. Don't go back. Alter says you're not. We discussed this last week. You're not supposed to repeat words in Shemoneh Esrei, especially if it's Shem Hashem. So the Alter not everyone agrees with this Alter's position. You should say it where you are. Say it where you are. Don't go back.
But before the bracha.
Oh, if you already said Baruch Hashem, it's finished. You can't say it anymore. Just continue. Okay. Regarding repeating it by congregation, so many communities have the minhag to repeat after the Chazan all of these 4 stanzas. By Chabad, we only repeat the last 2. We don't repeat the first 2. The last 2 are Uksayv and Ubesefer. And the Rabbi explains the reason is very simple. Zechenu Michamaycha are statements. They're statements. Uksayv Ubesefer is a request. So there's an inyan for the congregation to also repeat the request. What's the point of repeating the statement?
Well, the puzzle is there because that's before the.
In Kabbalah.
The sefer,
You're good.
well, not good, but because
You're b'diavad, it's okay.
B'diavad.
You're still yetzer. Yeah, if you really feel bad, you can always, after Shemoneh Esrei, say it. You can say by your personal prayers to God. You can say it. You can say, Hashem, Uksai, please write me in, and you can say whatever you want. You miss that bus stop. You can't anymore make that up. Okay, we're going to put a little statement of the Arizal in here about Michamaycha, and the Arizal states the following: that in the second stanza, which we say in Mechalka Chaim Mechazir, Michamaycha, Zeicher Yitzurav, Zeicher Yitzur Berachamim L'chaim. He says the following: that in this stanza we have a prayer to God on behalf of the souls of our ancestors. He says something very interesting. On Rosh Hashana and throughout Zayis Mitzvah, it is not just us that are being judged, but it's the souls of all of